Good evening, everyone, and welcome. Thank you so much for joining us for DHEC's virtual public hearing and the proposed modification for the Egeria mine permit. I'm Christy Ellenberg. I'm the Director of Collaborative Partnerships and Strategic Initiatives for DHEC's Office of Environmental Affairs. And tonight, I'm going to be serving as your tech host. It's a pleasure to be here with you on behalf of DHEC. I want to thank you for taking time to join us remotely. I do have some assistance from our tech team tonight. Ask Catherine to introduce herself.
Good evening, everyone. This is Catherine Yon.
So Catherine and I are here to help throughout the meeting. In just a few minutes, you'll be introduced to other DHEC staff who were involved in tonight's virtual public hearing. Catherine, if we can go to the next slide. So if you are experiencing difficulties and need to call in, there is an audio option. This information for the dial-in information is also available on our webpage that relates to tonight's meeting. That is www.scdhec.gov/Egeria9. So we're using this technology to provide opportunities for continued participation in our decision-making processes while we all do our part to reduce the spread of coronavirus by following current federal and state guidelines that promote social distancing. We want to hear from all who are interested, and as the state's public health agency, we are also making public health and safety a priority. So we encourage you to help stop the spread of COVID. Let's fight this virus by rolling up our sleeves. Everyone ages 12 and older is now eligible for the COVID-19 vaccine. It's free. There's no ID and no insurance and no bills. So for information on COVID-19 or to find a vaccine near you, please visit www.scdhec.gov/vaxfacts, VAXFACTS. For tonight, our tech team will be doing a few things to help improve audio. All lines have been muted in order to minimize background noise and echoing so that everyone can hear the presentation, as well as the birds in my backyard. After the presentation, we will unmute lines, share some further instructions, and provide an opportunity for all who would like to provide public comment tonight. Make sure you're able to do so. This virtual hearing is being recorded, and the recording will be placed on our webpage in the next few days. We have started the recording. So we do have a full agenda tonight. I want to turn things over to Donna Moy, who will be serving as our facilitator and hearing officer. Donna, are you ready?
I am ready, Christy. Thank you so much. Hello and welcome. The time is now 6:32 p.m. on Thursday, June 3rd, 2021, and this public hearing will now officially begin. Again, my name is Donna Moy, and I will serve as the hearing officer tonight. It is a pleasure to have you with us, and we thank you for taking the time to join us remotely. This public hearing is being held by the South Carolina Department of Health and Environmental Control, hereafter referred to as DHEC. And the purpose of this hearing is to accept oral comments and supporting information on the proposed modification of the Egeria mine located off of Beadler Forest Road, approximately 5.8 miles east of Harleyville, South Carolina, in Dorchester County. The permitting process at DHEC begins when an application is received for one or more environmental permits. During the permitting process, an applicant must show that the proposed operation can comply with state and federal regulations. These regulations were developed to ensure that human health and the environment are protected. In addition to reviewing the application, DHEC's role is to write and, if issued, enforce permits that meet the requirements of the regulations. You also have a role in DHEC's permitting process. Your comments are important to us and may provide DHEC staff with additional things to consider when making a final decision regarding the proposed permit modification. It is important for you to know that a final decision has not yet been made and will not be made here tonight. The purpose of this hearing is for you to provide comments before a final decision is made. Continuing to provide safe and effective opportunities for public involvement in our permitting process remains a top priority for DHEC in the wake of the COVID-19 pandemic. This public hearing is being held virtually because it allows you to provide verbal comments in real time from the comfort of your own home. The virtual aspect does sometimes have its own unique challenges, and we appreciate your patience and understanding as we work through any technical issues that may arise during this hearing. Comments made tonight are being recorded, as Christy mentioned, and will be included in a written transcript prepared by a certified court reporter who is joining us tonight. DHEC welcomes and encourages all comments made tonight, as well as those submitted in writing, through the end of the public comment period on Tuesday, June 15th, 2021. As you are probably aware, DHEC has created a web page for access to information about the proposed modification. The web page address again is www.scdhec.gov/Egeria Mine, EGERIAMINE. A recording of this public hearing will be posted on the web page prior to the end of the public comment period. If you have not already done so, I encourage each of you to go to our webpage and complete the registration form for this hearing. This will let us know how to notify you of the final decision regarding the proposed modification. We will now move on to our agenda and the order in which we will proceed for this hearing. An overview of the proposed modification and DHEC's mine permitting process will be provided by Wendy Hamilton. Following the presentation, I will begin the public comment portion by calling on those of you who indicated during pre-registration that you would like to make a comment. If you have decided that you no longer wish to speak when you are called on, you may decline at that time. Once we have finished hearing from all pre-registered speakers, those who did not pre-register to speak will be given an opportunity to make their comments. At that time, our tech host will give instructions on how to indicate that you would like to make a comment. And finally, after all comments have been heard, I will make closing remarks and this public hearing will be adjourned. In order for everyone to have a fair and equal opportunity to participate tonight, and to ensure that we proceed in a timely and effective manner, the following 4 guidelines have been established. First, there will be no questions or answers during or after a presentation or comment. Second, your comments should not go over 5 minutes each. At the end of your allotted time, you will hear this sound. Thank you, Catherine. I will interrupt to remind you if you do not conclude your comments at that time. If you are not able to complete your comments within the allotted time, you may still submit them in writing before the end of the public comment period. Please keep in mind that final decisions are not made based on a vote or how many people say the same thing. Third, please be respectful towards all who are presenting information or making comments here tonight. You each have a unique and valued perspective. No one comment is considered more important than another. And finally, fourth, please do not interrupt or ask other participants to respond during your comments. Should any comments or actions begin to distract from the purpose of this hearing, the speaker may be placed on mute or removed from the online platform. And Wendy, if you're ready, I think we can begin with your presentation.
Thank you, Donna. Let me get my slide going. Good evening. As Donna said, my name is Wendy Hamilton, and I appreciate you attending tonight to give us your comments and concerns on the modification requested. I am the project manager for the modification for mine permit I-002170 issued to Dorchester Logistics for the Egeria mine. So tonight I will be reviewing the history of the mine, the requested modification, and explain the decision process. This is an overview of the area. The mine is located on a tract outlined in yellow, and it's mostly comprised of larger tracts of land in a rural area. Like many parcels in this area, the tract has been in silviculture practices, cycling the harvest and replanting of trees. Everyone is aware of the location, as Donna mentioned. It is northeast of the junction of Beidler Forest Road and Old Pond Road. According to Dorchester County, Old Pond Road is a privately owned road. The parcel is comprised of 117 acres and it is leased by the operator. The requested expansion is east of the current operation as shown in the slide. Wetlands are present and have been delineated. You can see the general flow in the green lines. These wetlands are protected from mine activity by a buffer of undisturbed vegetation. This mine was originally granted coverage under a general mine operating permit in April 2008. To Risher Mining and Trucking was granted GP1-001844. A GP1 restricts affected land to 5 acres to a maximum depth of 20 feet for the excavation of sand, clay, and topsoil. There's no processing allowed under the general permit. In September 2016, the GP1 permit was transferred from Risher Mining and Trucking to Dorchester Logistics, LLC, DLI. In February 2018, DLI was issued an individual permit for the site, expanding the permit area from 5 to 26 acres. Last October, DLI requested to add acreage to the east. As stated in June 2017, DLI requested an individual permit to expand the GP, shown on this map on the blue circle, and expanding it to the yellow outlined area. The proposed mine was certified as being consistent with policies contained in the South Carolina Coastal Zone Management Program, and the NPDES discharge permit was approved. Permit I-002170 was issued February the 9th, 2018, and it incorporated and canceled the general permit. I-002170 expanded the permit area to 27 acres, allowed for the excavation of 24 acres of sand clay to a depth of 20 feet. The site is dewatered and discharges are controlled by the National Pollutant Discharge and Elimination System, NPDES, permit standards. The active mine is buffered from wetlands and adjacent properties. DLI submitted a modification to expand the permit in October. This basic map shows the original permit area outlined in rust. And I would like to note that with more accurate mapping and measuring tools, the modification corrected the acreage for the permit in segment 1, reducing it by 1.2 acres. The modification expansion is outlined in green. The modification requests to expand the permit area by 74.3 acres to disturb a total of 62.3 acres, which would include roads, setbacks, and excavations. Material is excavated and stockpiled to be loaded onto trucks. No processing is done at the mine site. Buffers are expanded to protect the wetlands and adjacent properties. The wetland buffers on this map are shown in yellow. There is no change in depth was requested. DLI submitted a preliminary jurisdictional determination of all waters and wetlands on the tract. And as I said, these areas are buffered from mine activity. As with the original application for the Egeria mine, the modification request was put on public notice for comment. The notice was posted on the DHEC webpage, mailed to adjacent landowners, notice to several state and federal agencies as noted on the slides, and advertised for the public. The request was published in the Post and Courier newspaper November the 4th, 2020 and November 11th, 2020. DHEC did receive comments from the adjacent landowners. Of the agency's notice, the Department of Natural Resources commented that had no and expressed no concerns with threatened or endangered species. They commented to avoid wetlands, minimize land disturbance, and install appropriate sediment and erosion controls. Archives and History clarified the expansion would not impact a known archaeological site that is located on an adjacent tract. No concerns were received from any other agencies notified, and no additional studies were requested. This hearing provides additional opportunity to receive the comments from the citizens. This is the current mine map, which was revised from the initial mine map submitted. It now notes current land ownership, and it also adds a pipe to move water from the new area to segment 1 for settling, retention, and discharge. Again, the 24 acres permitted and affected for segment 1 have been reduced by 1.2 acres to the actual 22.8 acres based on better mapping and measurement technologies. As mentioned, the modification expands the operation to the eastern side of the track. DLI requests to expand the permitted area by 75.5 acres. The permitted area is any disturbed area, excavations, access, including the affected area, but it also includes buffer. There's no future reserves outlined for this site. They are adding segments 2, 3, and 4, which you can see on the map to the east, to disturb an extra 39.5 acres. Segment 2 at 10.4, 3, 13.95, segment 4, 15.11. So they want to excavate a total of 62 acres. You can note the stockpile areas that are within the segments. There are also setbacks around the perimeter of the segments for access. These setbacks will be used for final grading of slopes at reclamation. There's a berm along the northern property line shown in brown. The buffer for this is increased to 39.7 acres. It's along the wetlands that are shown in yellow and the property lines shown in green. As I said before, no change in depth was requested. The operator plans to pump water from the expansion into segment 1 for retention and discharge. The main purpose of the South Carolina Mining Act is to return all mine lands to a useful purpose while ensuring safety and protecting the environment. Mine operations are controlled by the demand for material. It is difficult to predict how long an operation will be in business. Mine permits are issued for the life of the operation. DLI submitted a proposed reclamation schedule for segment 2 through 2024. They will need to revise the schedule for proposed dates for activities in segments 3 and 4. The proposed reclamation for the Egeria mine is to ponds. Reclamation standards for a pond require a minimum depth of 4 feet over 50% of the surface area. Banks are to be graded to a 3-foot horizontal over a 1-foot vertical slope, and all bare areas vegetated with permanent vegetation. Every time the reclamation map shows the final slopes of 3-foot horizontal to 1-foot vertical, the perimeter roads are planned to remain. Every mine operation is required to post financial assurance to ensure reclamation is performed. In the event a company cannot finalize reclamation at the mine, a bond can be forfeited and DHEC will finalize the work. At this point, the final reclamation bond increase has not been determined. I would like to address a couple of common concerns expressed about mine applications that DHEC has not given authority to address under the South Carolina Mining Act and regulations. Site location. Appropriate or compatible use is best determined on a local level. Mine operations locate where the material is found. DHEC cannot dictate where a facility locates. However, a permit decision does not override any zoning restrictions by local governments. The use of roads. DHEC can only evaluate impacts to public roads as it pertains to the physical effects from the mining operations, such as undermining. Roads are buffered from mine activity. People are rightly concerned about the increase of truck traffic hauling mine material. The legal use of roads is under the jurisdiction of SCDOT, Department of Transportation, and the Dorchester County Department of Public Works. Illegal activities such as weight, overweight, speeding, hazardous driving need to be called into the local law enforcement agencies. After all comments are received and reviewed, DHEC will request any additional information needed from DLI. We will then finalize the technical review of the request. DHEC's Office of Ocean and Coastal Resource Management will determine if the modification is consistent with the Coastal Zone Management Act. If so, OCRM will issue the Coastal Zone Consistency. The Bureau of Water will finalize the modification requested for the NPDES discharge permit. The CCC and NPDES must be approved in order for the mine modification to be finalized. As mentioned on the last slide, if the request receives the CCC and NPDES approval, mining will then finalize the decision on the permit modification. At that time, you will be notified of the final decision. With that notice will be a summary of how concerns were addressed and the process to appeal the decision. So be sure we have your contact information and that you are on the mailing list. As Donna stated, the purpose of this hearing is to receive your comments. And if you have additional comments after tonight, we accept written comments until June the 15th. They may be mailed or submitted by email to me with the information on the slide. Donna?
Thank you, Wendy. Before we transition into the comment portion, I will remind everyone that the presentation that you just saw has been posted on our webpage and will remain there. If you would like to refer back to it later or share it with someone else who was not able to attend the hearing tonight, please feel free to do so. I would like to reiterate that DHEC staff are here tonight to listen to your comments about the mine and that answers or responses to questions will not be provided. I will now call on those of you who indicated during pre-registration that you would like to make a comment. After I call your name, you may unmute your line. Please state and spell your name for the court reporter prior to speaking. And we will begin with Richard Armstrong. Mr. Armstrong, you can unmute your line.
For those who may be joining us by phone for audio, you can use *6 to unmute your line. And on the tech side, we'll make sure that we have that setting where participants are able to unmute at this time.
Yes, they are. Mr. Armstrong, if you're with us, you can unmute your line now. If you're having difficulty, we'll be glad to move on to the next registered speaker and we'll come back to you. So next on our list is Sid and Claudia Mims. Mr. or Mrs. Mims, if you would like to unmute your line, you can begin making your comment now.
Mr. and Mrs. Mims.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, there you are.
We can hear you. Please go ahead.
Oh, great. My name is Sid Mims, S-I-D, last name Mims, M-I-M-S. I am right beside the existing pit that's been dug over there. And I got a couple of comments to make and just want to move right along. I have really enjoyed the last couple of weeks in silence because there's not a piece of equipment over there. Everybody's moved out and I can really hear the birds early in the mornings and my dog is not disturbed. So I appreciate all that and I hope this continues, and it looks like you move it to the backside of the property, so I might get some relief. First question. I see that there is the berm that's been created between me and the existing digging site, which I truly do appreciate. This will keep livestock and people and everything else off of it. What I would like to see is this berm continued on with the additions on the backside as well, which I feel sure Mr. Muckenfoos is going to take care of that. But my second concern is the earliness, what time they get started over there. I used to work for Dorchester County, and I had to leave my house at 6 o'clock in the morning. And I would wake up to this sound. Beep, 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 and a lot of banging and clanging. My selfish request is please don't start the digging operation before 7 o'clock in the morning. My wife doesn't get up that early, and we built a little log cabin out here in the edge of the woods for a nice, quiet, serene woodlands environment, and that's not very conducive to that at all. So if you could help me out with that. Also, would you please curtail Sunday activities as well? I know it's a 6-day-a-week operation, and they're running wide open, and a lot of people need a lot of dirt. But Sunday is the day of the Sabbath, and please, just if they can at all possible, observe the Sabbath. And that's about all I have for you. Hello?
Thank you so much, Mr. Mims. We got your comments, and we certainly want to make note that it's important to you that your wife be happy. So we thank you for giving us those comments.
Well, you know what they say, happy wife, happy life.
Yes, sir.
Right now, my wife ain't real happy.
Yes, sir. We hear you. Thank you so much for giving us your comments.
Okey-doke.
And next on our list is Lauren Milton with the South Carolina Environmental Law Project. Ms. Milton, if you are with us, you want to unmute your line? Ms. Lauren Milton with the South Carolina Environmental Law Project.
Again, from the tech side, there you are, Lauren.
All right. I wasn't sure if y'all could hear me over computer or telephone, but y'all can hear me now, correct?
We can hear you. Thank you. You can go ahead.
Give me 1 second. I apologize.
No,
All
you're
right.
fine.
So my name's Lauren McGill Milton. I'm an attorney with the South Carolina Environmental Law Project, and I'm here tonight in support of Audubon, South Carolina. First and foremost, I just want to take a chance to thank DHEC for organizing this meeting. I know I appreciate the opportunity to comment on this application, and I'm sure everybody else here does too. Over the last several months, I've been reviewing this modification proposal to better understand the specific implications for this particular mine. And as an attorney, one of the goals of my work is to better understand how DHEC utilizes the laws that we have in South Carolina, like our water quality, coastal zone management rules, the South Carolina Mining Act, and all of its associated regulations to strike the balance between commercial and environmental interests. From my review and in the framework of the Mining Act's key component, which is 48-2070, I got to tell you, it's difficult to imagine a worse site in North America to conduct a mining operation. For over 50 years, Audubon and its conservation partners have worked tirelessly to protect the Beidler Forest and Four-Hole Swamp. South Carolina Code 50-11-910 declared the forest to be a sanctuary under state law. It's also a registered national landmark, and it's been globally recognized as one of only a handful of Ramsar wetlands of international significance. Four-Hole Swamp is also in the headwaters of the Edisto River, which is the longest undammed blackwater river in North America. The swamp feeds 1/3 of the flow of water to the Edisto River, which the entire Tri-County area relies on as a drinking water source. And as one of the last remaining old-growth forests on the East Coast, Four-Hole Swamp provides a critical habitat to hundreds of plant animal species, including a ton of threatened and vulnerable species who find their homes on site and in the trees of the forest. Some of the trees that are there are over 1,500 years old. Because a natural landscape filters out pollutants that protect the swamp, that protects the forest, that not only benefits the community, the people, and the resources downstream, but it enhances the habitat for the species that thrive in the sanctuary and the surrounding areas. It's because of those reasons that any activity that proposes to discharge into Four-Hole Swamp, it really should receive the most intense scrutiny. And I'm concerned here because there's still a lot that's unknown about the project. The applicant proposes to discharge its groundwater and stormwater from its dewatering activities into Four-Hole Swamp, which it will do after settling into a previously mined pit area. But Regulation 89-120 C1B states that best sediment control BMPs mean retaining sediment within the pit of the actively disturbed area. We also have no estimated discharge amount or contingency plan on how they might treat the water after settling if it still doesn't meet the TSS and pH discharge requirements. And while I appreciate the on-site wetland avoidance, we also don't have enough information on the strain that the operation might have on the existing on-site wetlands and the resulting effect that it might have on the water table, since the maximum depth apparently depends on the usable fill layers when digging on final depth. We have no information on the duration of the mine to assess the cumulative impacts, and we don't have nearly enough information on the nearby cultural and historic resources. What is so important to me is that we don't have adequate information on, or the quality of, or the representations about the forest cover, the wildlife, and the habitat that's present in the area and the impacts that there might be on them. We know both the forest and the swamp provide a critical habitat to a lot of different species, and I continue to worry about fragmentation, which is a huge issue that we deal with here in South Carolina. If our environmental laws in South Carolina mean anything, it has to balance the interest between commercial and environmental interests. And it's particularly important as it relates to our most precious resources, like Audubon's Beidler Forest, like Four-Hole Swamp. And there's no concept of balance if we're willing to risk the health of one of the most important natural areas in our country in exchange for a mine with indeterminate impacts. And for all these reasons and a lot more, I'm asking DHEC and the mine owner tonight to proactively resolve the concerns that you hear and ensure that this project has the least possible impact on the environment. And if that cannot be done, I'm asking you to deny this permit. And I, again, thank you guys so much for your time in organizing this tonight.
Thank you, Ms. Milton, and thank you as well for helping me with the pronunciation of Beidler Forest. That's one that I've gone back and forth about, so I appreciate now knowing the correct way to say it. Okay, before we move on, I would like to give Mr. Armstrong again the opportunity to unmute and make his comment if he is with us. Mr. Richard Armstrong, if you are with us tonight, you can unmute your line. We will give you another opportunity before we wrap up the comment portion. So I hope that if you're having difficulty joining us online, that you will call in by phone. And Catherine, maybe if we can put that slide back up with that call-in information, that might be helpful. So we also have Matthew Johnson, who registered to speak on behalf of the Audubon of South Carolina. Mr. Johnson, are you with us?
I am. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir, I can. Thank you so much. If you'll please proceed.
Sure. My name is Matt Johnson, M-A-T-T-J-O-H-N-S-O-N. Hello, and thank you for providing this opportunity for public comments related to this project. As I stated, my name is Matt Johnson, and I am the Center Director at the Beidler Forest Audubon Center and Sanctuary, which is located at 336 Sanctuary Road in Harleyville, South Carolina. The Beidler Forest Audubon Center is an 18,000 acre wildlife sanctuary. It's located in Dorchester, Berkeley, and Orangeburg counties. Lauren mentioned a few of the accolades to Beidler, and I'm going to reiterate some of those. Beidler Forest has been designated a Ramsar wetland of international importance. It's one of only 2 sites with that designation in South Carolina. It's a national natural landmark, and it's an important bird area. Some 180 different bird species have been documented on the sanctuary, including threatened species like the wood stork. Beidler also has an important cultural history and recently has been designated as a site on the National Park Service's Underground Railroad Network to Freedom program. In addition, Beidler Forest has been declared a wildlife sanctuary by the state of South Carolina under Code 50-11-910 from 1976. One concern that we have about the expansion of the DLI Plantation Egeria mine is its proximity to this wildlife sanctuary and the effects that the expansion could have on a number of issues, including threats to wildlife, reduced water quality, impacts to groundwater, and more. The potential adverse effects that this project could have on wildlife must be more explicitly studied, we feel, and that's stated in the South Carolina Mining Act under Code 48-20-70. In addition, Beidler is publicly accessible. We have a nature center and a 1.75-mile ADA accessible elevated boardwalk. Center has been open since the 1970s. It's a resource for the local community, and it's visited by thousands of people each year, including hundreds of school children. It's a treasured resource for the state of South Carolina as it represents original growth forest, a rare habitat now anywhere in the United States. In addition to being a home for wildlife and a place for people to experience nature, Beidler Forest also offers many guided programs, including canoe and kayak tours. A second concern of ours that I wanted to relate is related to access to our property, which our staff live and our visitors travel to during public programs. Canoe trips and other programs utilize our deeded access to Old Pond Road, which is also used as an access point for the DLI Plantation Egeria mine. We have long had issues with road quality from heavy truck traffic use, and we really worry about this traffic only getting worse if the expansion is permitted. Deleterious impacts on our access to roads and thus really our ability to conduct Audubon business is a major concern of ours related to this project. We do have additional concerns related to the application for the expansion of this mine, some of which Lauren has already mentioned, and I will defer to her comments and the comments of my other colleagues on the call to express those to you. But I would like to say thank you again for providing this time to offer these comments, and I will stop there. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Johnson. And I would like to mention that if you have your comments in writing, I know there's some, we want to make sure that the court reporter is able to understand and to transcribe the words correctly as they're said. Sometimes it's a little hard to hear on the virtual meeting. So if you have your comments already prepared in writing and could submit those to Wendy by email, that would be great. We'll make sure to get those to the court reporter in case she can use them as she's preparing the transcript. So next we have Tim Evans with Audubon, South Carolina. Mr. Evans, are you with us?
Yes, thank you.
Thank you.
I'm Tim Evans, TIMEVANS. I'm the Forest Program Manager for Audubon, South Carolina. And I'll be brief in that Matt and Lauren have done a pretty good job so far covering the larger issues. My primary concern is the function that Beidler Forest plays in water quality throughout the upper Four Holes and lower Four Holes drainages. As you're aware, Four Holes is a completely rainfall fed system arising in Calhoun County until its junction with the Edisto River. As such, Four Holes flows when we are in wet times of the year, and it doesn't flow when things dry out. So it's not a stream fed or otherwise fed riverine system. It's relying on rainfall. In doing so, when those major rainfall pulses occur, Four Holes serves as a filtration system for that water before entering into the Edisto. We've done years of research in benthic organisms and water quality within Four Holes and have documented the quality of the water exiting the system after it's been through the filtration of the forest. And anytime there is an opportunity for discharge of potentially sediment-laden material into foreholes, it's a grave concern to us in terms of the overall water quality to the system. So the idea of a new mine pumping water into that may not be properly cleaned before it enters the system, or maybe carrying a sediment load outside of accepted standards, is a major concern for us. Beyond that, the idea of having the mine so close to what we currently operate in terms of cabins, wells, and a major bluff and seep, we are concerned with the idea that the groundwater could be impacted and the flow to those seeps may be interrupted. Those seeps function through water filtration through the upper sandy layers of soil until they hit impermeable layers, and then travel along those impermeable layers until they reach the bluff where they form seeps going to Mallard Lake. Any interruption in that water flow has and does impact flow to those seeps, which are unique habitats for insects and herpetofauna along the bluffs that aren't found other places on the forest. Those are my bigger concerns, but I plan to provide a written comment as well. And again, I'd like to thank you for the opportunity to comment.
Thank you, Mr. Evans. We appreciate that. And before we move on to the unregistered speakers, I would like to jump back to Mr. Richard Armstrong. Mr. Armstrong, if you were with us and if you are able to unmute your line.
Hello?
Yes, Mr. Armstrong?
Hello, this is Richard Armstrong.
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am. I had to call in. I can't seem to unmute you on the computer.
Okay, good. Well, I'm so glad we have you now. Thank you so much. Please go ahead.
Okay, it's Richard Armstrong, R-I-C-H-A-R-D. Last name Armstrong, A-R-M-S-T-R-O-N-G. And just a couple of comments. I do go down there to go fishing at Mallard Lake, and I've never seen a sediment fence, but it shows on the plans there that there's a sediment fence all the way around the place. I don't know, does DHEC have a specific time span that they go and inspect these mines? Because it just seems that they can, they're kind of doing anything they want. The trucks are tearing up the roads. I know you say you can't do that. So is our only option there to call law enforcement and Department of Transportation to fix the roads and also to control the overweight dump trucks? And that's about all I've got.
Thank you so much, Mr. Armstrong. I hope that you were able to at least hear us earlier when I mentioned that we will not be answering questions during this formal public hearing. Our main intent of this is to listen to your comments and questions. But certainly, if you would like to discuss your questions prior to the end of the public comment period, we encourage you to do that, to get in touch with Ms. Hamilton, or she can reach out to you. So thank you so much for joining us. I'm glad we finally got to hear you, and your comments have been documented. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay, so it looks like that is everyone who previously registered on the registration form, who indicated on the registration form that they would like to make a comment. I think we were able to get to everyone. So now we will start with those who did not pre-register to speak, but have decided to make a comment during the hearing. And our tech host, Christy Ellenberg, we'll give instructions on how to indicate that you would like to make a comment at this time. So Christy, if you would like to show that slide and give everyone who has not commented yet some instructions on how to let us know that they would like to comment, and then we'll get started with those.
Yeah, thank you so much, Donna. Again, as the slide is noting, there are several ways that you can indicate that you would like to speak. One is by using the raise your hand feature. There's an icon and if you've joined by computer on the board, and I see someone that's already doing that, that is a helpful thing to go ahead and raise your hand, and we'll keep it raised. Also, especially if you're joining by phone and you would like to be able to let us know that you'd like to speak. If you could press *6 to unmute at this time, what we'll do is we'll try to capture those and kind of get those names lined up, and then Donna will be able to call on you. So if you'd like to comment, please let us know by raising your hand at this time or using *6 to unmute on your phone. Our tech team will note those who are asking to speak. We may mute you right back, or we'll probably keep your hand actually raised at this time, and then Donna can call on you either by your name or the last 4 digits of your phone number when it's your turn to speak. And again, as you get called on, just to help out with our court reporter again, if you can start by clearly stating and spelling your name. So let's see, anyone else? I see we have some people who are already raising a hand, but if we have some others that are unmuting, please do that. And we will start calling on people shortly.
Thank you, Christy. I'm going to go ahead and get started with Sharon Richardson. Ms. Richardson, if you're with us, you can unmute your line now.
I think Ms. Richardson was unmuted when she was first joining, and we muted her earlier on the tech team side. I was kind of matching up a phone number from the registration. So Ms. Richardson, yeah.
Our tech team is much more advanced than me, obviously. So we have noted, Ms. Richardson, that you did indicate you would like to make a comment. So we will be glad to hear from you now, or we can come back to you in a few minutes. Okay, we'll come back to Ms. Richardson. I see Greg. I really hope I don't butcher your name. Is it Vanderwerker?
Yes, that's correct.
Thank you so much. If you would please spell your name for the court reporter, and you can begin your comments.
Sure. First name is Greg, G-R-E-G. Last name Vanderwerker, V as in Victor, A-N-D as in David, E-R-W-E-R-K-E-R. And I am a resident of Johns Island, so I'm not cheek by jowl to the project like Mr. Mims is. But I do have a great affection for the area, having traveled up there and been in the forest and on the waters there. Looking at the slide, I think it was number 13, showing the new project where they're going to be digging around. Yes, thank you. A, B, and C are wetlands. I'm not a hydrologist, but it seems to me if you have those wetlands and you dig 20 feet down around them, they're no longer wetlands. They become highlands. So it's going to de-water those wetlands, and they actually will no longer be wetlands. Probably the same thing with that sluice indicated D, where it's already dug on one side. You dig out the other side, you're probably going to drain. That's not going to be a wetland. It'll just be a prairie or some such thing. Also, they indicate a pipe going from the new project to the old project that states it's just going to be laying on the surface of the land. I think that pipe is probably going to be about 500, 550 feet long, laying over that, if my estimate is correct, which is about 1/10 of a mile. So basically, you're going to be building a dam on that wetland flow, impeding any flow down there. So I really wonder how much, if any, hydrology the DHEC goes into in these projects, and being so close to the forest and the stream rivers there, it looks like it's going to have a major effect. Also, discharges, I don't know much about them or how often they do them, and I don't know what DHEC's modus operandi is, but is there any attempt at determining heavy metals or toxic metals in the discharge water, whether there's any arsenic, lead, other heavy metals, either naturally occurring or from previous disturbances in the past history of that land? Would be important to know. If that's not being done, it certainly needs to be. And finally, I see that in the application, they currently have a bond, project bond for $25,000 for the current project, and they do not, from the application, it looks like they expect the $25,000 to cover the whole project, including the addition. That seems ridiculously small, even for this project as it is. But to say, well, 25, hell, I'll leave for $25,000 and let somebody else take care of it. That's really pretty ludicrous for a project like this in such a sensitive area. So thank you for your time and appreciate the opportunity.
Thank you, Mr. Vanderwerker. And I'm really glad that I did not butcher your name too bad. So thank you so much. Okay, we want to go back to see, again, if you would like to make a comment at this time, you can raise your hand or unmute your line. Our tech team is watching those lines to be able to grab your name or your phone number whenever you do so that we can call on you. I want to make sure that we give everyone an opportunity to make their comments tonight while we're all here. We did note that the telephone number ending with 9494 was unmuted earlier in the evening. If that is your number and you would like to join us now, please unmute again. And we had a small enough crowd with us tonight that we really would like to be able to get to all the comments. So please feel free to share those with us now. I have noticed that there have been several questions in the comments, and we do appreciate those. Like I stated earlier, we're not responding to those tonight. But I would like to take the opportunity to provide Ms. Hamilton's phone number. If you would like to follow up with her after the hearing tonight, we certainly want you to do that, especially before the comment period, if it will help you in submitting comments to us. That's Wendy Hamilton, who is in our Columbia office. No, we accidentally left her number off of the slide, so I'd like to provide it for you here tonight. It is 803, that would be the area code, 898-1368. Again, that's 898-1368. I can tell you if we were in an in-person meeting now, Wendy would be talking with you face to face. She's been doing this quite a long time and enjoys having those personal conversations. And I know that she misses that, having this virtual hearing tonight. So please don't hesitate to phone her or send her an email and she will be glad to get in touch with you to answer any questions that you may have before the end of the public comment period. So I want to check back with our tech team now to make sure. Have we had anyone else indicating they would like to make a comment, Christy?
I have not seen any new hands raised or lines unmuting at this time. So again, if someone would like to add a comment to this record tonight, please raise your hand now. And as the slide notes, you can also submit comments by mail or email through June 15th. Donna, I'm not seeing any other people looking to comment tonight.
Okay. Thank you, Christy. It looks like we have been, or you have been on this call with us tonight. We so appreciate it. It's been about an hour now, and we want to make sure that we are respectful of your time tonight and joining us. So again, as Christy said, if you decide that you would like to submit comments, please do so through June 15th, and they will be added to the record or our official record of comments for this site. So with that, since we do not see that there are any other attendees who have indicated they would like to make a comment, we will close the comment portion of tonight's public hearing. On behalf of DHEC, I would like to thank everyone again for joining us tonight and giving us your comments. Please note once again, as has been stated many times, that written comments may be submitted to us by mail or email through June 15th, 2021. I believe that is on a Tuesday. DHEC will review and consider all comments received during the public comment period and will request additional information from the applicant if necessary. A decision will then be made to approve or deny the proposed permit modification. The permit decision and a summary response to all written comments received will be posted on our webpage and provided to everyone on our mailing list. You have the right to request a final review of any permit decision made by DHEC. The final review request must be submitted in writing to DHEC's Clerk of the Board, along with a filing fee in the amount of $100 within 15 days after notice of DHEC's permit decision has been mailed. In consideration of this requirement, you will receive notification of DHEC's permit decision by standard U.S. mail or by email. If you wish to be notified of DHEC's decision by certified mail instead, please make your request in writing no later than June 15th, 2021. On behalf of DHEC, I would again like to thank you for your attendance and comments this evening. As the state's public health agency, DHEC encourages you to help us win the fight against COVID-19 by getting a safe, effective, and free vaccine at a convenient location near you. The time is now 7:28 p.m. and this hearing is officially adjourned. You may disconnect from the meeting at this time. Good night and stay safe.